Hey, tonight, we begin not with kings, philosophers, or conquerors, but with something small, mysterious, and quietly transformative. Something that has been part of humanity for thousands of years. Sometimes comforting, sometimes confusing, sometimes sacred, and yet always present. Something that makes us laugh, reflect, connect, and occasionally lose ourselves completely. Something as simple and extraordinary as alcohol. So, dim the lights for a moment, settle into your chair, or lie back with your pillow tucked just right. Let the hum of a fan, the faint sigh of wind, or the quiet creak of a floorboard become your companion. Take a deep breath. Let your mind drift backward, far, far back, into a time before civilizations, before writing, before kingdoms, before trade routes stretched across continents. A time when humans were just beginning to understand the world, and every new discovery carried wonder, danger, and the thrill of the unknown. Tonight, we'll walk together into that ancient past, not across oceans or battlefields, but into the first moment of human curiosity, the first sparks of discovery, the first taste of something that would quietly shape the rhythm of life for millennia. You are about to witness, in your imagination, a world that existed long before taverns, before vineyards, before copper coins clinked in merchants' pockets. And it all begins with fruit, perhaps a berry, perhaps honey fermenting naturally in a hollow log, left in the sun, changed, and then tasted. Imagine yourself there. The smell of smoke curls through the air from a small fire, drifting across dew-slick grass and damp soil. The forest hums softly with insects, the distant crackle of twigs underfoot, the gentle sway of leaves. The first humans, cautious and curious, notice something unusual. A sweet, pungent smell rises from a pile of sun-soaked fruit. Someone picks it up, turns it over, and hesitantly tastes it. The flavor is sharp, unfamiliar, and fleetingly strange. It tingles on the tongue, warming the chest, stirring the mind. Do they laugh? Do they clutch their belly? Or do they simply pause in awe, uncertain of what just happened, unsure whether to fear or celebrate? You, listening now, can feel that uncertainty, that spark of curiosity, as if it travels across the millennia to you directly. And from that moment, tiny, fragile, yet astonishing, a journey begins. From accidental fermentation to ritualized drinking, from firelight experiments to complex brewing, humanity has always returned to this strange gift of the earth. And the first sip is only the beginning. Alcohol would become more than flavor or intoxication. It would become ritual, ceremony, comfort, and escape. From prehistoric gatherings around a crackling fire to vast, golden halls and royal courts, from quiet, lonely evenings of festivals bursting with sound and color, this one discovery threads through human history like a hidden river, shaping experiences, connecting lives, and whispering to the soul. Picture the scenes. The sticky hands of a forager, pressing honey into water, tasting it cautiously. The bright firelight reflecting off stone tools. Laughter and chatter filling the air as the effect of that first sip settles in. Across rivers and mountains, cultures begin to experiment. Grains, fruits, honey, rice, barley, meat in northern lands, beer in Mesopotamia, wine along the Nile. Each culture has its own rituals, its own stories, its own reverence for what might otherwise be considered just a simple drink. And you are there, quietly observing, walking with them, inhaling the smells of fermenting fruits, tasting history, feeling the warmth and chill of fires and nights under open skies. And there's something else the universality. No matter the place or century, the effect is the same. Hearts lift, laughter rises, conversation flows, worries fade, curiosity awakens. Alcohol becomes a companion, patient, persistent, present. And even now, as you hear this, you feel the echoes of those ancient first sips, the first accidental intoxications, the first ceremonies that would one day inspire toasts, prayers, feasts, and quiet reflection alike. So tonight, you'll move gently through history. You'll see early humans discover this strange gift. Cultures experiment and innovate. Empires celebrate and debate over fermented treasures, and quiet, small moments of wonder blossom alongside vast movements of trade and culture. You'll feel the warmth of firelight, the sting of cold nights, the sweetness of discovery, the thrill of human curiosity, and the eternal pulse of connection that threads through it all. Now, settle in. Let the shadows in the room grow soft. Let your breathing match the gentle rhythm of distant streams, crackling fires, and whispering winds. Somewhere, thousands of years ago, a fruit fell to the forest floor. Someone picked it up. Someone tasted it. And in that small, quiet act, the story of alcohol, the companion of humanity, began. Let us begin not with kings, not with palaces or grand feasts, but with that fruit, that curiosity, that first sip. The journey starts here, and tonight you are walking with them. Close your eyes and step softly into a world long before cities, writing, or even proper tools existed. You hear the hum of insects in the warm air, the soft rustle of leaves underfoot, and the distant call of birds settling into the night. The forest is thick and alive, its damp earth heavy with the scent of moss and fallen fruit. Somewhere near the riverbank, water trickles over smooth stones, carry with it the faint sweetness of wild berries crushed by passing animals. You notice a patch of overripe fruit glistening in the fading sunlight. Its skin is dimpled, soft, a little sticky, and from it rises a subtle, almost imperceptible fizz. A bird hops closer, snatches a berry, and seems momentarily disoriented before hopping back. A small animal lingers too, tasting and retreating, swaying slightly in confusion. You watch, curious. Something is happening here that the world has never seen before. A hand reaches out. Fingers touch the sticky fruit, lifting it carefully. You lean closer. The berry is warm from the sun, slightly sweet and just a little strange. And then, almost without thought, someone, perhaps you, perhaps another early human, tastes it. One bite, one tiny, uncertain sip. The pause is heavy, lingering, and then laughter. Soft, bewildered, joyful. Not loud, not triumphant. Just that delicate, astonished laugh that comes when the world suddenly shifts in a way you don't fully understand. And with that single taste, warmth spreads slowly through the body. It curls in your chest, in your arms, and even your legs feel lighter. The air itself seems to shimmer. Shadows around the fire flicker and blur. The forest feels softer, somehow alive in a new way. Stars begin to glow faintly through the treetops, and the first sparks of wonder spark in your mind. This is more than flavor. This is curiosity rewarded. For the first time, fear quiets in the heart. Hunger seems less urgent. Conversation softens into murmurs, gestures, and laughter shared in the firelight. The first humans to taste this fermented fruit begin to notice something remarkable. The world feels warmer, closer, more connected. A bridge is formed between survival and celebration, between the mundane and the magical. Over following seasons, patterns emerge. fruit is gathered with care and hidden beneath leaves, tucked in hollows to bubble and ferment. Honey is stirred into water, grains mashed and left to rest under sun. Around the fire, humans begin to share. Cups or shells or hollowed gourds cradle the golden liquid. The drink becomes a thread, weaving people together, quiet and gentle. It is not just taste anymore. It is ritual. It is comfort. It is community. You see it in your mind. Hands passing vessels, laughter echoing softly, eyes reflecting the warm glow of firelight. Someone nudges another playfully, and smiles ripple through the circle. And above it all, the forest waits, patient and eternal, watching the beginnings of human tradition that will ripple through time. Far away, in valleys yet to be named, humans experiment with grains, berries, and honey. Clay vessels cradle the first primitive beer, mead, or wine. Tiny bubbles rise and burst in the sunlight, and the liquid whispers of possibility. In China, around 7000 BCE, residue in clay jars hints at the first crafted alcoholic beverages. In Mesopotamia, grains form primitive beers. In Africa, honey wine emerges in quiet valleys. Each discovery, each experiment, is soft and small, but together they become history, and you feel it. The slow bubbling of curiosity, the warmth of shared discovery, the first taste of a strange, golden world. This is where everything begins. From a fallen fruit, from a curious hand, from laughter under the trees, from that one small sip, humans discover comfort, ritual, and connection. The first fermented taste spreads, unseen and unrecorded, yet powerful enough to change hearts and minds. And as the night deepens, the air softens. Fires burn lower, shadows stretch longer, and the first sip continues to work quietly, shaping smiles, soft chatter, and the beginnings of community. Villages will rise, hearts will glow, and the drink, humble, golden, magical, will carry meaning across centuries, across civilizations. From accidental discovery under a canopy of leaves to the careful crafting of early brews, the journey begins. And tonight, you are here to witness it, leaning back, letting the warmth spread. Imagine the first humans tasting this new, mysterious delight. The forest whispers around you. The stars pulse gently overhead, and the first sip hums softly through time. From forest fruit to crafted brew, the world begins to shift. Villages take shape along rivers. Clay pots cradle golden liquid. Fires glow. Hands pass vessels. Laughter mingles with smoke and song. The first human sip is no longer just taste. It is ritual, connection, and comfort. And so, from this quiet beginning, history itself begins to ferment. The air changes now. Villages rise along rivers. Fires glow. People gather in the fading light, passing cups, laughing softly, sharing warmth. And the drink, humble and golden, begins to carry meaning. From forest floor to crafted vessel, from first sip to shared ceremony, the journey of alcohol has begun. And as the night stretches on, you can almost feel it. The first sip is still with us. It lingers in quiet moments, in warmth, in community, and in the soft glow of firelight. The forest is patient. The fruit still ferments, and the human story moves forward one sip at a time. From here, our journey continues. The first accidental sip leads us slowly to the first crafted brews, to rituals, to villages, and eventually to the empires that will rise on trade and celebration. And tonight, you drift quietly listening, feeling, imagining, a witness to the very first taste of something golden, warm, and eternal. You step softly into a time when wandering is no longer enough. The nomad's path ends in a clearing. Fires burn in one place now, sending smoke and thin, curling trails to the sky. You hear the gentle hum of voices, low, steady, a rhythm of shared life. Somewhere nearby, children play under the branches of trees, their laughter soft as leaves rustling in a warm wind. The earth is tilled carefully. Fingers press into dark soil, turning seeds into promises. Barley, wheat, millet, the first grains of civilization, slip into the earth, destined for bread and something else, something golden and warm. Water trickles from a nearby stream, splashing into hollowed stones and clay vessels. You watch as someone dips a hand, pouring liquid over crushed grains, leaving it to rest, to wait. The air carries the smell of earth, of crushed grain, of something quietly fermenting. What was once an accident now becomes tradition. Harmony rises between people, earth, and fermentation, soft and unspoken. In a small dwelling at the edge of the village, a woman tends a fire. At dawn, she stirs a bubbling pot. The smell rises slowly, warm and sweet, carrying hints of grain and something almost magical. Steam curls toward the ceiling, twisting in slow spirals before dissolving into the thatched roof. You notice the concentration in her eyes, the rhythm of her hands moving steadily, almost reverently. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. Time bends around her work, quiet and measured. Each day she repeats the motion, unknowingly creating history, one sip at a time. The first breweries are not grand halls, but humble kitchens. Each home becomes a temple, and every pot of bubbling grain a small miracle. The liquid thickens, golden and soft in the light of the morning sun. You watch the villagers gather, hands reaching for clay cups, lips brushing the rim, eyes closing as warmth spreads from tongue to chest. There is laughter, low and easy, spilling into the smoke-laden air. And beneath the sound, there is wonder. The first taste of alcohol brings more than pleasure. It brings something holy, something that reaches into the marrow of humanity. It quiets fear, softens anger, encourages connection. For the first time, joy feels divine. Ritual follows naturally. You see gatherings around fires at twilight, cups raised to invisible gods, murmurs of gratitude or supplication. Someone whispers thanks to the spirits of the grain, to the rain that fell gently on fields, to the sun that ripened each stalk. The liquid is an offering, sacred and simple. You notice the sway of the villagers, slow and harmonious, as though the world itself is bending towards celebration. To drink is to honor the unseen, to acknowledge life in its smallest and most radiant forms. Time stretches forward and the first settlements grow. You see that rivers carry more than water. They carry life. The Tigris and Euphrates, the Nile, waters deep and sustaining, where clay vessels cradle fermented grain and honey. In Mesopotamia, around 4000 BCE, people record recipes on clay tablets, the earliest written words for beer. In Egypt, workers lay stones under the sun's relentless glare, drinking bread and beer to sustain their labor. The smell of dust, sweat, and sun-baked clay mingles with the sweet, yeasty aroma of fermented drink, and you watch silently, feeling the rhythm of this world, a pulse of connection, survival, and shared warmth. Every sip carries stories, of hands that press grain, of firelight flickering across earthen walls, of voices singing low songs to honor the harvest. The liquid becomes memory and comfort. Children lean into mothers, elders speak softly, and everyone shares in the quiet magic of community. They do not drink to escape life, but to share it, to honor labor, to celebrate growth, to mark time as sacred. The first breweries, humble and domestic, are the heartbeat of civilization, slow and steady. And yet, Even as these small villages flourish, something stirs on the horizon. Gods take shape, temples rise, and power begins to weave through human hands. What was once shared freely begins to carry meaning beyond joy, beyond warmth. The golden liquid that united families and neighbors will soon also divide them. Sacred cups may become a symbol of wealth, a tool of hierarchy, a measure of control. But for now, under soft skies and the gentle glow of firelight, the world is at peace. The clay pots cool, the stars rise, the wind murmurs through reeds and over fields, and the world hums quietly with creation. You stand beside the fire, feeling the warmth, smelling the sweet tang of fermenting grain, listening to the distant ripple of a river. You imagine the first brewers, the first celebrants, the first quiet rituals that would echo through millennia. And in this moment, all is calm, all is human, all is sacred. From the first sip to the first shared cup, you are witness to the gentle unfolding of civilization, a story that begins softly, hums through firelight, and drifts endlessly into the night. The first ferment has passed, but its warmth remains. The villages sleep under the same stars that shone on the first brewers. The clay vessels stand, cool and quiet, and you, listening here in the stillness, are carried forward through time, from the soft beginnings of alcohol to the hearths, temples, and streets that it will someday fill. And now the night deepens, the fire dies down, the murmurs fade, and in this gentle quiet, the first civilization and the drink that binds it rests, ready to grow, to spread, to leave traces that will travel across continents and centuries. The air smells faintly of grain, of earth, of life itself, and you drift with it, soft and slow, ready for the next story to unfold. You step into the warm sunlight of the Mediterranean. The land is heavy with the scent of ripening grapes, their purple and green skins glistening under the early morning sun. The soil is dark, fertile, a promise beneath your fingertips, and the air smells of earth, of warmth, of quiet abundance. Vine leaves flutter gently in a soft breeze, and somewhere in the distance, you hear the low murmur of workers walking slowly between the rows, baskets brushing against stems, fingers plucking each grape with careful, reverent precision. What began as clay pots of fermented grain and honey now rests in amphorae, carefully shaped, stacked beneath marble halls. You think, the humble beginnings of accidental sips have matured into a drink of contemplation, of ceremony, of thought. Wine has become more than sustenance. It is now the companion of minds, of poets, of those who linger on questions that stretch like the sun across the horizon. In Athens, evening falls with gentle hush. The lamps glow softly and low, flickering circles. You see philosophers leaning back on cushions, cups of red and golden liquid in hand. Their voices rise and fall like soft waves, speaking of virtue, of desire, of beauty, of chaos. The air is heavy with the mingled scents of wine, oil, and olive. You feel the rhythm of conversation, slow and deliberate, the hush of attentive ears punctuated by laughter and sighs. Wine is not merely a drink here. It is conversation, a ritual of thought. It moves between hands like a quiet song, a liquid spark that loosens tongues and opens minds. Dionysus, the god of joy and chaos, lingers in the corner of thought, invisible, yet present in every smile, every gesture, every subtle rise in voice. The Greeks understood what the first drinkers of fruit must have felt. The sudden lifting of gravity, the softening of fear, the warmth that spreads from tongue to heart, binding people together in quiet celebration. As the scene shifts westward, Rome rises. You find yourself in a grand banquet hall, marble glowing in torchlight. The scent of roasting meats and herbs mingling with that familiar, comforting aroma of wine. Goblets clink softly, a rhythm of life, of power, of ritual. Servants move with calm precision, pouring deep red and pale golden liquid into waiting cups. Fountains of wine flow in small, shallow basins. A display, yes, but also a gentle indulgence, a reminder that power is a taste, a presence, a weight. And yet, even in this indulgence, there is poetry. The torches flicker over carved faces, over the soft harp strumming in the background. Voices rise and fade into the night, blending with the hum of conversation, with the faint clatter of cups. Wine here is both pleasure and thought, both social glue and silent symbol. It reminds all who drink that there is beauty in the fleeting, joy in the shared, meaning in the ritual of care. Wine travels beyond the halls and harbors of empire. Ships carry jars across seas, their hulls creaking in gentle swells. Across the waves, amphorae filled with golden liquid pass from hand to hand, from port to port, spreading not just drink but stories, beliefs, small whispers of culture and ceremony. In temples, offerings of wine gleam in candlelight. Priests lift their cups to the sky, murmuring thanks, soft prayers to gods, spirits, and ancestors. And in homes, families gather quietly, letting the warm glow of fire and liquid mingle, softening the edges of a long day. Even in early Christianity, wine finds its place, not as a mandate, but as a ritual, a connection, a gentle bridge between the human and the divine. Cups lifted, hands brushing rims, eyes lowering in reflection. Wine becomes memory, becomes warmth, becomes story. And as you watch these quiet acts across centuries, you feel the continuity, the link between the first fermenting fruits under the prehistoric sun, the bubbling pots in early homes, and the golden liquid resting in amphorae beneath marble. Empires rise, empires fall. Stones are laid and crumble, and still the cup is never empty. You hear the soft hum of civilizations passing, feel the gentle pulse of human curiosity and desire flowing through every sip, every clink of cup, every quiet gesture of gratitude. Wine carries them all, a drink, a story, a companion. And now, as twilight drifts over vineyards and marble halls, as torches gutter softly and the last voices of conversation fade, you feel a calm settle. The air smells of grape and earth, of firelight and memory. The drink that once nourished, comforted, and inspired now rests quiet in its vessels. And somewhere across time, the cup waits to be lifted again, to carry warmth, thought, and soft reflection into another night. Empires rise and fall, but the cup never empties. You whisper to yourself, carried by the calm rhythm of centuries. The world hums softly. Stars shimmer through distant windows. And in this gentle silence, the story waits for medieval age, where ale, mead, and wine will become medicine, danger, and comfort, weaving further into the fabric of human life. The empires have faded. The marble halls are dust and ruin now, scattered beneath creeping vines and restless soil. The air is cooler, the world quieter. You stand in a field beneath a gray dawn sky. The earth is damp with dew. The wind faintly carries the smell of grain, smoke, and something sweet, the faint scent of brewing. Villages cling to the edges of forests and rivers now. Life is smaller, humbler, but still glowing with quiet purpose. The age of kings and conquest has passed into the age of hearts and hands. The great amphorae of Greece and Rome are gone. In their place stand wooden barrels, clay jugs, and humble mugs carved from horn and wood. Yet the same warmth remains, that golden drink that has followed humanity like a patient shadow. You walk closer. In one small village, a woman leans over a cauldron, stirring with slow, practiced motions. The The fire beneath crackles, its light soft against a morning mist. She hums to herself, a melody as old as the grain she stirs. Steam rises, carrying the scent of barley, honey, and yeast. She doesn't know it, but she's one of the keepers of civilization's quiet flame. In her hands, the first brewery survived, not in palaces, but in kitchens. At dawn, she gathers water from the well. She crushes the grain, stirs it into warmth, and waits. The pot bubbles faintly, a small, living thing. And as the day passes, what began as simple food becomes something more. The liquid deepens, thickens, breathes. She tastes it, smiles faintly, and sets a mug aside for her husband returning from the fields. The first sip is always the same, soft, earthy, alive. Ale, beer, mead. The names will change, but the feeling stays the same. This is not a world of philosophers and marble banquets now. This is a world of labor and faith, of prayer and weather, of silence and song. And yet, even here, maybe especially here, drink still comforts, connects, and heals. Inside the stone walls of a monastery, a different kind of brewing hums quietly. The monks rise before dawn, their chants echoing softly beneath vaulted ceilings. Candles flicker along long wooden tables. Outside, fields stretch green and gold beneath morning light. They brew for survival, but also for devotion. For centuries, monasteries will guard the art of brewing, perfecting it, protecting it. In the cool cellars beneath the abbey, barrels line the walls, sealed with care, marked with quiet precision. The air is cool, damp, rich with the scent of yeast and patience. It is here that brewing becomes not just sustenance, but craft, a sacred rhythm, a hymn in liquid form. When the villagers fall ill, it is the monks' ale they trust to drink. When travelers arrive weary from the road, it is the monks' mead they are offered, golden, sweet, the taste of kindness. And so, in silence and ritual, the drink that once danced in the hands of gods now rests in the hands of those who pray. The laughter of Dionysus becomes the hum of psalms. The banquets of Rome become quiet wooden tables lit by candlelight. Each sip still carries memory. Each mug still holds comfort. But outside these walls, the world is changing. Markets grow. Trade winds return. Ships cross northern seas, bringing spices, sugar, and new ways to brew. Inns appear along the roads. Travelers' rest stops glowing like lanterns in the night. Inside, firelight shimmers on mugs of ale. The sound of laughter, song, and the faint pluck of a lute drift through the air. Ale becomes the drink of the people. Mead, the sweet echo of old gods, becomes a toast of warmth on cold nights. And wine, still flowing through monasteries and noble houses, carries stories of faraway lands. Yet no matter where or how it's poured, alcohol keeps its quiet promise to soften the edges of life, to warm tired hands, to make strangers into friends. There's a story told in a whisper that monks believed every good brew was a prayer answered. And maybe that's true. Maybe every barrel resting in a stone cellar, every steaming pot over a village fire, is a kind of devotion, not just to survival, but to the simple human need for connection. The candle burns lower. The night air deepens. In the distance, a bell tolls for evening prayer. The monks bow their heads. You can almost smell the bread baking, the hops drying, the honey melting into golden syrup. And as you listen, you realize this is what humanity does best. We take what the world gives, grain, fruit, time, and we make comfort. We make warmth. We make something to share. The ale cools. The candles flicker. Outside, snow begins to fall against the window ledge, soft and slow. The world grows still. The monks rest. The villagers dream. And the drink that has followed us from fruit and forest now breathes quietly in barrels beneath the earth. Its journey is far from over, because soon the world will awaken again, with ships and sails, trade and empire. The drink will travel farther than ever before, carrying memory, desire, and the taste of history across oceans. But for now, in this moment, everything is still. The air smells of smoke, grain, and sweetness. And somewhere, deep beneath the monastery floor, the future ferments softly in the dark. The night deepens and the world grows wider. Waves roll beneath wooden decks, and lanterns swing gently in the dark. You can almost hear it. The slow creak of a ship on the open sea, somewhere between Portugal and the edge of the unknown. Men huddle on the deck, breath clouding the cold air. Their rations are small, but there's always one thing that lasts: alcohol. Barrels of wine, casks of beer, bottles of rum, sealed and stored in the belly of the ship like buried treasure. It wasn't luxury. It was survival. Water went stale, but alcohol stayed good. It kept sailors alive, or at least kept them believing they could survive another night on the waves. So from every harbor, from Lisbon to London, ships left carrying not just maps and muskets, but the scent of fermented courage, the birth of rum and spirits. In the Caribbean sun, sugarcane waved like a sea of gold. Here, on these new islands, something different began to bubble. Distillers found that molasses, that thick, dark byproduct of sugar, could be turned into something fierce. They called it rum. At first, it was crude and sharp, but it burned with life. Rum became the blood of the colonies, traded for goods, for labor, for lives. It fueled sailors, pirates, merchants, and empires. Every drop carried a story of toil, of trade, of survival and sin. And yet, in the soft glow of a Caribbean sunset, rum wasn't evil. It was comfort, a way to forget the heat, the storms, the endless blue horizon. Wine for the rich, rum for the sea. Back in Europe, the nobility still toasted with golden goblets of fine wine. In taverns and on ships, the poor drank rum, gin, or whatever spirits they could afford. Class divided what people drank, but alcohol itself united them all in one simple truth. Everyone wanted warmth, escape, and company. A peasant with a wooden cup and a king with a jeweled glass both felt the same slow calm after a sip. Colonies in control. As the empires grew, so did their thirst. The British taxed rum. The French perfected brandy. Distillation became an art, a science, and soon alcohol wasn't just a drink. It was currency. Ships carried barrels across oceans, along with gold, spices, and human lives. Each pour had its flavor. Rum in Jamaica, brandy in France, whiskey in Scotland, gin in London. The world was now drunk on discovery and power, the quiet after the toast. But let's step back from the noise, the sails snapping, the taverns roaring. Let's listen to the smaller sounds. A sailor whispering to the stars, a captain's quill scratching in his logbook, the gentle splash of rum poured into a tin cup. Even in this age of conquest and commerce, the simple act of drinking, of raising a cup, was still deeply human. A moment to pause, to remember home, to warm the cold night with a taste of something familiar. Transition hooked to the modern age. As centuries turned, the world became faster, brighter, and noisier. Alcohol changed too, from remedy to rebellion, from ritual to recreation. But the story wasn't over, because every age finds a new reason to drink and a new way to forget. So, let's pour another glass, not for the sailors or kings, but for the world that kept changing and the people who never stopped chasing warmth. Fade into soft ambient ocean sounds, the sea dissolving into city noise, leading into the industrial age when the world got drunk. The glass is nearly empty now, and our journey from clay pots to crystal goblets finally comes to rest. We walk through dusty vineyards, golden feasts, stormy decks, and quiet taverns. And somehow, through every age, one thing stayed the same. The human need to pause, to breathe, to feel warmth in the heart, even if just for a moment. Alcohol wasn't only a drink, it was memory of friends laughing, ships sailing, empires rising and falling. It was a reflection of us, our curiosity, our flaws, our joy. And as you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine that final toast, not for kings or gods or sailors, but for us, the dreamers still wandering through time, finding comfort in the quiet stories of the past. The candlelight flickers low, the air is still, and the world, once wild with voices, finally exhales. If you enjoyed the slow journey through history, through its flavors, fires, and forgotten nights, leave a like so the story can reach more sleepy minds like yours. And if you'd like to travel again, through another forgotten chapter of our shared past, subscribe and join me next time for another quiet night of boring history for sleep. Until then, close your eyes, rest your thoughts, and remember, the past is never truly gone. It's just resting like a half-finished glass, waiting for the next story. Good night, dreamer. See you in the next one.